our wonderful students who are graduating. So my name is Laurel Hurt, and I'm the director of the Center for Community Engaged Learning. And I'm going to start us off by saying, reading our land acknowledgement statement. So, the Center for Community Engaged Learning and the Community Engagement Scholars Program acknowledge that the University of Minnesota occupies lands included in the 1805, 1837, and 1851 treaties between the United States government and the sovereign Dakota Nation. Due to the U.S. government's failure to uphold any of these treaties, these lands rightfully and legally belong to the Dakota people. The Dakota are the only indigenous people to this place, and they have maintained a spiritual connection to and physical presence in it throughout the history to the present day as part of the Twin Cities' large and vibrant Native American community. We have two main reasons for making this statement. First, as members of a scholarly community dedicated to furthering knowledge, we recognize an obligation to know the history of our own institution and of the geographical area in which we are situated. Second, as advocates and practitioners of community engagement, we see the events of the past continuing to play out today in the vast racial inequalities plaguing our state in every issue our work addresses: housing, health, education, environmental quality, and more. Knowing and naming Minnesota's colonial history can help deepen our understanding of systemic racism and historical trauma as root causes of the current social realities, enabling us to work more effectively for greater equity. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon as we celebrate 19 graduating scholars. My name is Laurel, as I said. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the director of the Center for Community Engaged Learning and one of the founders of the Community Engagement Scholars Program, which we are celebrating today. Before we officially begin, I want to appreciate those who have been instrumental in planning and organizing today's event. I will do a shout out to my colleague Maddie, over there with the camera. My colleague David for supporting us today, my colleague Jessica in the back, and my colleague and wonderful supervisor and longtime friend, Dr. Heidi Barajas. In addition, I would like to honor those who have supported and continue to support the program. Most of these people are not here, but I will just read off the groups. Administrators and employees of the university who support our office. University of Minnesota faculty who instruct our community engagement scholar course in their courses. And I will say around the world, because we have many students who took courses in international locations as well. Community partners who work in collaboration with our scholars. I know we have at least one of those people here today. My staff, our Leaders Board members who support scholars and their students' growth. I know we have a couple of folks who have been part of the Leaders Board over the years. If you're here, you want to raise your hand up? Okay. So also CESP Advisory Board members. Heidi, I guess that's you. CESP alums, Maddie and Jessica. And then, very importantly, friends and family of our scholars here today. So I know that's a lot of you, so we'll give you a round of applause. And then, of course, we can't forget our current class of 2022-23 graduating scholars. If that's you, raise your hand in the air. So, as we are celebrating this inspirational group of scholars, I am excited to share that collectively, these students have contributed over 12,000 hours of community engagement, completed 95 reflections, and taken at least 171 credits of community engaged learning coursework. They have also completed community engagement through study abroad and have worked with at least 94 organizations locally, nationally, and internationally during the school year and throughout their summers for the past 4 years. As we reflect on these accomplishments this afternoon, we will discuss 6 unique themes that we ask all of our scholars to reflect upon during their time in the program. Those themes are ethic of engagement, what does engagement mean to you and why do you do it? Sense of self, how do your intersecting identities relate to the work that you do? Identities, power, and privilege. How do each of these topics operate within your community work and your community engaged learning courses? Collaboration and community building. Who else is involved in working on the same issues that you are? Agency. What is your capacity to create and sustain social change? And finally, integration and contextualization. What are the common threads in your community engagement and academic work? So we ask you to keep these 6 themes in mind during the ceremony this afternoon. Move us forward. Here's our outline for today. And I would like to welcome the first of several speakers to share some of their reflections with us this afternoon. Each speaker will give you an idea of what it is like to be a scholar in the program by reflecting on one of the themes. And our first speaker, I'm honored to welcome Alexis Friesen to share her reflection on ethic of engagement.
Hi everyone. So first I'd like to thank Laurel and all the staff at the Center for Community Engagement who have helped each one of us in our service work over the past few years. You have really created a space for us to lean into our roles and make them meaningful. To my friends, families, peers, and partners, I have been asked to speak on my ethic of engagement. Each of us started our journey by writing one. It's a statement of our motivations to serve. 3 years ago, I defined service as love, and that has only grown in meaning for me. This is not the love of Valentine's Day or of fairy tales. It is the deep care and compassion we have for the people around us. We each practice it when we patiently listen to each other. We have it in our hearts when we cry in pain together. And it is ever evident when we dig deep to serve one another. For me, community service is not an isolated event. I will only serve at the food shelf tomorrow afternoon. Now, community service is an attitude that infuses our entire being. We serve in every interaction we have, at work, with our families, and with strangers. We meet all people with open, listening ears and stand with them in their joys and sorrows. This is an act of love and service. I'm going to share an example from my own life for why a service attitude is important. You guys will laugh, but in my family, we play this game called Car Jenga. The rules are relatively simple. 3 cars, 5 people, 7 calendars, and our team only wins if we work together and everyone gets to go where they need. Easy enough. Well, on summer day number 80, when we sit down at the table to play, it takes a lot of love and service to one another. I'll drop you at work early so I can have the car for the day. I'll go to the other workout class, that way it makes the schedule easier. I need to get the car home because someone else needs it now. I'll come back to this though. This spring, I had the opportunity to coordinate service trips to Puerto Rico after a series of hurricanes hit the island. The need facing us was planning a trip for students to work with local rebuilding efforts. This project ended up taking a lot more time and energy than my team expected, mostly because of things outside of our control. Honestly, there were moments where I did not feel generous enough to give another hour, but I found myself thinking back to summer day number 80, to the sacrifices of time that my family gave me and I gave them. In serving them, I learned to give even when it's not easy. Leaning on what it meant to be generous in Car Jenga gave me strength to do it again in these moments. And it was so worth it. The group that went to Puerto Rico ultimately built 2 houses and made very strong relationships with their Puerto Rican friends. This service attitude has been strengthened like a muscle. This is one example where small, consistent acts of love make it possible to respond to much larger community needs. I would argue that each one of us here have answered the call to be a community servant. My friend Alexandra did not run the University of Minnesota Students for Rare Club to get this medal. My friend Rachel did not make hundreds of phone calls for the People's Clinic to get a designation on her transcript. My friend Jeremiah, who's not here today, did not co-create the Anti-Racism Coalition because he wanted the recognition as a good person. No. Each of these 3 examples, and so many more in this room, showcase an individual's response to a community need. Needs are the spaces that are waiting to be filled with love, and community servants are the ones who answer this call. So ultimately, my ethic of engagement is love, and my peers' actions make it clear that it is the same for them. In closing, the community-engaged servants in this room get to operate like lights in the world. Because we have the ability to see, hear, and stand with people in their needs, we get the joy of spreading hope, peace, and love. I wish you all great strength in the many years of service you have ahead, and may they be blessed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexis. That was wonderful to hear you. Next, we are going to be hearing from Zainab Ali Muhammad, who will share her reflection on the theme of sense of self. Zainab?
Hello everyone, can you hear me well?
Yep. Yes.
Alright, hello everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, which translates to peace be upon you, as well as the mercy and blessings of God. My name is Zainab Mahmoud, and this Saturday I'll be graduating with a bachelor's degree in biology, society, and environment with minors in public health and sociology. I wouldn't have gotten to this point without my faith, my family, and the support systems I found during my time here at this university. My sense of self was heavily impacted by my experience as an undergraduate student as I embarked on opportunities of growth by immersing myself in the community that God has placed me in for a reason. In the Community Engagement Scholarship Program, we were taught that a sense of self encompasses a holistic awareness and understanding of your identity and a conscious awareness of how you live your identity through the choices you make, not only as a college student, but also as a citizen and a member of the different communities that you are a part of. Here on campus, I was a part of many communities as I navigated who I was as a person. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing you could do for yourself is learn who you are as a person, and the only way to truly do that is to seek knowledge and explore the world around you. If you asked me in my first year if I would be founding a student group, joining research labs, working as a tutor and youth mentor for years, embarking on becoming a peer mentor, and even being up here today speaking to you all, I would have said no way. That's the beauty of finding yourself and where your place in this world is. My sense of self centers my religion, my aspirations, and my beautiful family. My parents have done an incredible job of raising me and my siblings as Muslims who strive to do good, seek knowledge, and be sure of our values and aspirations. Who I am as a person is all thanks to them, and there are no words to describe the amount of gratitude and love I have for them. My goals of giving back to my community stems from knowing the opportunities and positions that God has placed me in. And this is what my parents continue to remind me every single day. As a daughter of immigrants who was given the blessed chance to attend a large university such as this, and be a part of many extracurricular activities, each of which served as beautiful learning moments, I grew sure of myself and my identity as a driving force behind my motivations. Taking the bits and pieces of who I am as a person and pouring them into the future endeavors that I am so excited to pursue has allowed me to recognize and reflect just how far I've come, and I urge you all to do the same. Take pride in every part of who you are because you were created for a reason. That reason is to take your life into your own hands and make sure you live it the way that you want and are meant to live. In the Quran, we Muslims are told, do good as God has done good to you. And this is something I truly take to heart as I reflect on who I am and what my purpose is. And so I leave you here today with asking you, who are you? And what is your sense of belonging in this world? And please don't ever forget that the beauty of trying to find yourself is that it is a lifelong journey and a process that continuously builds you into the person you are meant to be. I wish you all the best in your journeys and have no doubt that many great things will be accomplished by the Community Engagement Scholars Program class of 2023. Thank you so much, and I congratulate us all.
Thank you, Zainab. Before we hear from another speaker, we are going to begin by recognizing our graduating scholars. We will start with the 2022 Fall Capstone Seminar students. This fall, we had 3 hybrid sections, also known as the ESP 3901. Several of these students also graduated last fall and are off doing things far from the Twin Cities and unfortunately are not with us today. But we still are going to celebrate their accomplishments and many contributions, along with those who are present today. I welcome my colleague Jessica Proskin, Assistant Director of Community Engaged Learning, and my colleague Dr. Heidi Barajas, our Interim Assistant Vice President for Public Engagement, to come forward to help me recognize our fall students. Graduates, okay, we're going to do this, recognition. I'm going to be calling out your names, and we will ask you to come forward, and if you can, step up onto the stage to receive your certificate and a medal, and then we will have you pose for a photo with my 2 colleagues. So, starting us off, we have Janani Ranutunga. Janani. Thank you, Janani. Our next person we're recognizing is not with us today, but Tan Nguyen was another scholar. And the 3rd person in this fall class is also not with us because she has started her next adventure on a graduate program in occupational therapy in Milwaukee, Hannah Geller. But next section, Mary Haddad. Lexi Hopp, Isaac Riggins, and Emma Metz. And then our final fall semester student is here, Alexandra Nicklau. Celebrate all of the scholars who took the capstone seminar in the fall. Congratulations. Okay. So at your tables, you have an quotes. And I'm going to ask you to take a few minutes to read over those quotes and pick one that resonates with you. So this is a collaboration, an example of our collaboration and community building reflection that requires scholars to get together with their peers at various events to learn about particular issues such as environmental justice, disability justice, the role of mentors, social determinants of health, issues of systemic racism that have shaped the Twin Cities, opportunities to do AmeriCorps programs with Serve Minnesota, etc. While we don't have any time to do a full session today, we do have an opportunity to have people reflect together and learn from one another over the next few minutes. So, I mentioned at your tables, I encourage you to pick a quote that resonates with you and to get with another person and share with that individual why you selected that quote. And I will bring you back together in about 5 minutes. Thank you for humoring me and doing that. Something most of our classes do at least once during the semester, so wanted to give everyone else a chance to also experience that, so thank you. I'm honored to welcome Janani again back up to the stage to share her reflections on the theme of identities, power, and privilege. Janani.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? Yes. Awesome. My name is Janani, or Janani Ranatunga, and I am a graduating senior from the College of Biological Sciences, majoring in neuroscience and genetic cell biology and development. It is my honor to be speaking for a couple of minutes at CESP's 2023 reception. In a couple of minutes I have of your time, I'd like to talk to you all about something that's very near and dear to a lot of people's hearts: identity. Identity has always been a hot topic of conversation, and I guarantee any first or second generation American in this room has written at least one essay about the clashing of their racial or ethnic identities, including me. Growing up in rural Minnesota, I was constantly aware of a few of my own identities. Being a Buddhist Sri Lankan American woman from a lower income household was not something that was super common in Byron, Minnesota, but it did allow me to think. How did my identities interact and shape the person that I am today? How do they intersect with the privileges that I hold in my daily life? What power do I hold in my thoughts, actions, and conversations? Unfortunately, high school me wasn't super focused on answering these very philosophical questions. Surprisingly, passing my driver's test and working my part-time job was something I was more focused on. However, as I entered college and I had the opportunity to participate in classes and activities through the Community Engagement Scholars Program, I became more aware of the intersection between identity, power, and privilege. In one class, we talked about how the idea of identity creates privilege and how it shapes our beliefs in our current world. We so often see hateful laws being enacted against minority groups in the United States. Whether from our politicians, celebrities, or even news anchors, we often see them acting based off of their own identities without critically analyzing how their status as either male, white, or a member of the higher socioeconomic class tends to impact other people and avoid oppression. As such, we see how power is abused at the hands of those that are supposedly leaders and role models. While this is uncomfortable to accept, I have learned through this program how important empathy and acknowledgement of our identities is in meaningful activism. My time at CESP, unfortunately, has not given me all the answers for my own identity crisis. However, it has made me more aware of the backgrounds that impact the way I hold myself and my own actions. Community engagement has helped to bridge the different backgrounds that I hold with the backgrounds of various different communities that I serve. I worked with the Pillars of Prospect Park, which is a senior living center, for my capstone project, known as the Integrative Community Engagement Project, where I focused on creating something sustainable for years to come. I spent a majority of my time working with the elderly in the memory care unit, also known as Dimensions, and trying to put myself in the shoes of those that could not act, think, or talk in the same way that I could. I remember struggling a lot in the beginning to find my exact place in Dimensions. How should I react if I come across a confused resident? What is the line between wanting to help and being way too overenthusiastic? It was through meeting and interacting with these lovely residents that I began to find my place. I had walked into the pillars with the assumption that I would need to help everyone, and that everyone would be very lost and confused. But as I met them, I realized that many were vibrant, full of life, and a lot of them were a lot more active than I am in my day-to-day life. As I reflected, I realized that I had unintentionally used my able-bodied identity to create an incorrect perception of a community that I felt very near and dear to me. I used my newfound knowledge in order to create a manual for the pillars, which I called a dimensional guide to working in dimensions. It is through this project in CESP that I was able to see the power of identity and privilege in action in my own thinking. So, while I cannot confidently say that my own questions with identity, power, and privilege are resolved, I do believe my time in CESP has helped to foster a more in-depth understanding of how this plays a role in our actions, our laws, and our society. I hope that I and the other scholars that are here today will keep in mind the power they hold by simply just existing and utilize their knowledge in community engagement today and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janani. That was fabulous. Next, we are going to hear from another scholar via their digital story, which serves as the scholar's integration and contextualization reflection by asking them to look back at their full undergraduate career and past reflections and their community engagement and academic path.
When I started at the University of Minnesota, I already knew what career path I wanted to take. I decided on psychology as a major, and I wanted to be pre-med as well. I researched into what the academic path was going to look like, but I didn't know much about all of the application. In my mind, the pressure of being pre-med had already taken over. The search for every single resume building and character building opportunity had begun. I went to all the career and internship fairs. I went to Explore U to find organizations and student groups. I collected flyers and pictures of the names I wanted to remember. It was an overwhelming start to learning about how to be truly involved and connected with your community. I quickly signed up for what I was interested in. By October, I was involved in 2 student groups and was in the process of volunteering. 7 Days a Cappella got to work with many organizations within the Minneapolis community and the greater Midwest, where we performed and shared music. Dance Marathon at the University of Minnesota was a philanthropic student group through Children's Miracle Network, where we got the opportunity to fundraise and volunteer for Gillette's in St. Paul, putting on an annual event called Silvathon. And Greater Minneapolis Crisis Nursery was my first volunteer position as a child care volunteer who takes care of kids from families utilizing the temporary housing crisis service. And at this point, I remember the most exciting parts of getting out into the community was just being able to experience the freedom of making my own choices and the beauty of Minneapolis. I already fell in love with the community and the shared values that many seem to have. But my excitement came crashing down fast. COVID-19 had just closed the world down in March 2020. Forced to move everything online, I moved back home with my parents. Classes moved online chaotically, as did everything else. My student group's meetings had gone online. All of our future events that we were looking forward to were canceled. And after a few shifts, GNCN needed to shut their volunteer program down. The one place that couldn't operate online was my workplace. The daycare that I worked at had many teachers that needed to stay at home for health or other reasons due to COVID-19. And since I was able and healthy enough to work, I did. I would attend my classes on my break, sitting in my car, but I love my coworkers and the families that attended the daycare, so I was more than willing to continue on. However, I think I underestimated my capacity to handle everything I wanted to do. The stress of everything compiled caused me to feel anxious, and the uncertainty of the pandemic made me unsure about what the future was going to look like. The isolation forced me to look harder at myself and reflect on what my true values are. How did I want my life to look? The Community Engagement Scholars Program helped me to come to an understanding that engaging with the community is more than just volunteering for a cause. It can be about finding a sub-community and building friendships. It can be about brainstorming sessions that address a specific local issue. It can be persevering through challenges and coming up with alternative solutions. It's about giving where you can and learning where you can. It's about developing compassion and making small changes when and where you can. While the world slowly started to reopen, I felt myself change along with it. I was motivated to get back into things. And at this point, I was in a few leadership positions and felt compelled to strengthen the organizations I was a part of before I graduated. I engaged in mentoring programs, became a peer advisor, a teaching assistant, and I volunteered at Hennepin Healthcare. I wanted to both learn from my peers and guide them through the obstacles along their way. I became more engaged in work that was close to my identity, such as research in LGBTQ+ mental health and learning comprehension in college students. The community members around me supporting me was my sole motivation to continue what I was doing. The relationships I've made, the reflections I've had on who I am, and my opportunities have truly shaped my values and morals, and I hope to continue using these lessons all throughout my life. Thank you for listening.
Jordan Arns, thank you for letting us hear your story and view this. I emailed her on Friday and said, "Can I show this today? Are you open for that?" She graciously said yes. So thank you so much. All right, with that, we are now going to recognize our scholars who were enrolled in the capstone seminar in spring. So yes, Jess and Heidi, thank you for coming back up here. We also had 3 hybrid sections in the spring. And to start us off, I will welcome Jordan Arts to the stage. Today. They are Nemo Gele, Callian Mitch, and Joseph Quick. However, their 5th colleague, Ree Shanker, is here. Ree. With a single student who did get to join in the first group a little bit, but Zainab Ali Mohammed, come on up. section as well. And so my first, Rachel Aroldas. Our second student alphabetically is not with us today, but he will be graduating in fall, Jeremiah Cox. Then we have Alexis Friesen. Anastasia Friesen. Okay, also we have Daniel Grudas, who is, I think, at another event still, unable to join us. So, okay, so my last student is Daniel John Rydberg. So thank you, everyone. Let's take a moment to celebrate those scholars who completed their course in the spring. All right, so I have some closing remarks, and then I'm going to welcome my colleague Heidi back up to the stage. But as you graduate, let me remind you that being here today means you have persevered through a lot, including, as Georgian's story mentioned, a pandemic. Yet, you still figured out how to contribute in meaningful ways to our communities. As Clarissa Pincola Este states, ours is not the task of fixing the entire world all at once, but of stretching out to mend a part of the world that is within our reach. Any small, calm thing that one soul can do to help another soul, to assist some portion of the poor, suffering world, will help immensely. Margaret Wheatley, author of many books, including the one I love, where cited on the perseverance theme here, states that throughout human existence, there have always been people willing to step forward to struggle valiantly in the hope that they might reverse the downward course of events. Getting engaged in changing things is quite straightforward. If we have an idea or want to resolve an injustice or stop a tragedy, we step forward to serve. Instead of being overwhelmed and withdrawing, we act. No grand actions are required. We just need to begin speaking up about what we care about. This is how the world always changes. Everyday people not wanting for someone else to fix things, but simply stepping forward, figuring out how to make things better. As you graduate and move on with your lives, I hope you will take these lessons of success and failure that you've had as valuable learning experiences to continue to make communities a better place for human beings and the plants and animals that make up our environmental ecosystem. Thank you. Heidi. Associate Vice President for Public Engagement and Associate Professor of Organizational Leadership Policy and Development in the College of Education and Human Development. She's going to offer some closing remarks to our students. I must also add that she has served as a member of the group of people that I convened over 20 years ago to help create this program for our students, and has continued to be a very valuable resource and advisor to our office and to this program since the beginning. And even though she thinks she's going to get out of it when she retires later this year, she's not. Just warning you. Heidi.
Big girl shoes on, and I can still barely see over this. Listen, you know, I'm always honored when someone says, will you give some closing remarks? And generally it's because it has been nice to hear from the students. It's been nice to see the things that they have done in their time. I do think there's a special kind of congratulation that needs to go out to this group of students because you went through a changing world. And you didn't let that stop you from continuing to learn and change yourselves. I have to brag just a little bit, and that is that my oldest grandson is also graduating. In fact, I have his graduation ceremony on Tuesday. And he works with youth, and he works particularly with youth who are a little different, let's just put it that way. And he's great at it. And I say that because when I look at our world today, I'm sometimes not enthusiastic about who we are as adults in it. I'm more enthusiastic about who I see as our young adults. And the idea that you have learned through this program how to reflect on who you are, to really think about how you fit in the world and what does that mean, and to decide what your values and principles are and to act on that, that's not a small thing. That's a really big thing. And it would be my wish that all of us old codgers would actually stop for a second and think and reflect and do exactly what you're doing now, because I think that's what would make the world different. I'm totally convinced that if we were to become engaged scholars, all of us in whatever walk of life we were in, the answer to the world's problems would be that much closer to us. So what I want to say to you today is, you've got this. You know how to do it, you know who you are, you know where you want to go. That and the degrees that you guys are getting in neuro, whatever it is, that's like right over my head, just want you to know. I totally admire all of that. I'm just a lowly sociologist. And those of you who are sociology minors, way to go. So what I want to say to you parents, what an amazing job you did. You can't take credit for the choices your kids make, but isn't it nice when they do the ones they do? I'm in the same boat. I've got great kids, I've got great grandchildren, and I will be retiring, but I'm not retiring from life, I'm just retiring from having to do stuff every day that I don't want to do. This has been the greatest year of my career because I've been allowed to work in engagement, because I've been allowed to work with people who see the world in the terms that I do, and who want to continue to become better people and build better communities and build a better world every day. So thank you for letting me be part of that.
Thank you, Heidi. With that, this concludes today's program. I would like to thank you all again for being here with us this afternoon. Please join me as we celebrate all of our amazing graduates and wish them the best of luck in their next chapters as they continue to engage in community work in the future. Please also continue to help yourself. There's more food, beverages, desserts in the other room. Student speakers, if you would like to take one of the plants on the tables with you, please help yourselves, and then other students, take them away. There's also one on the table, go check in. I don't want to take them home, so I will mention that on our website, and I believe we'll be sending this out afterwards, we will be posting the video from today along with kudos boards for all of the scholars. So if you'd like to sign them and wish your peers and relatives and friends Congratulations, please do that. We will have their digital stories, the rest of them linked up so you can see most of the students' digital stories that they did this year in their capstone class. And then, since it is still nice out, Maddie, yay, we were afraid it was going to rain. We are thinking it would be lovely to do group photos down by the fountain downstairs. So we normally take one large group photo and then any other photos. So please join us downstairs for that. Thank you very much, everyone.